to our e-conclave. COVID-19 has left its impact on each one of us. We all have been locked up in our houses for 7 weeks now. However, this crisis has also had a major impact on our economy. So today, with this esteemed panel of senior industry people, will be discussing with us its impact on media and entertainment industry. The session will be moderated by Mr. Ashish Pirwani. He is the leader for the media and entertainment sector for Ernst& Young in India. He has been associated with MNE. Introduction of Mr. Pirwani. He is the leader for the media and entertainment sector for Ernst& Young in India. He has been associated with media and entertainment industry since 1999. In this over 2 decades of experience in the industry, Mr. Pirwani has been associated with over 50 media companies across TV broadcasting, TV distribution, radio, content production, out-of-home, mobile, events, print, and gaming. Now, I'm handing it over to Mr. Pirwani. Before I do that, I just want to mention that we're live on Facebook, we're live on E4M website, we're live on Twitter. So please keep tweeting and do watch it. Mr. Pirwani, please take it over.
Thank you so much, Nazia. Welcome, everybody. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the panel today, starting, of course, with Pratyusha. She's the Chief Consumer Officer at Zeal, a great person who's intent on driving viewer-led brand growth and something that Zeal has performed brilliantly in over the last couple of years. Of course, the other people as well, fantastic panel, Vikram, Group CEO at Madison. He's an IIT Delhi and IIT Kolkata alumni, so it's like a double whammy, 2 great degrees out there for you, and 28 years of experience. Also, interestingly, on the list of Mumbai's 50 most influential people. Welcome, Vikram. And of course, from the brand side, Vivek, 25 years of experience, the Chief Marketing Officer at Pidilite, leads corporate brand marketing there and responsible for some of the greatest creatives and campaigns, as we are all aware of. So without further ado, I'm getting straight into this. I've kind of broken up the session into 2 parts. One, I'm going to talk about the now, which is what's happening right now in the lockdown and what can we see over the next 2 to 3 months happen after the lockdown ends, and things start off the segment and how they've played out during the lockdown, which ones are growing, which ones are falling. Over to you.
Sorry, Ashish, you just went off in the middle, so I couldn't quite hear the question.
I'll repeat again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I think, Vikram, with you, a brief overview of the segments in media and entertainment. How are they faring during the lockdown?
Okay. Okay, let's talk the advertising piece now. Effectively, if you have to look at the main sort of source of advertising are really coming from TV, print, and then of course we have digital, and the others, which are out of home and cinema, are now like completely wiped out as of this moment. Radio also, the sort of listenership has surprisingly come down a bit, so that's also, there's not so much action there. But what we are seeing is that on both TV and online, of course, there's a lot of interest out there. So TV viewership has gone up 40%. Online viewership has gone up 10%, but within that, social and news has really gone up significantly. Newspapers is a little on the sort of downside because while circulation is happening, the number of pockets where papers are not really coming in, and a lot of advertising out there has more or less, most of the advertising has stopped. But if you have to look at really TV for a moment, this is interesting. Normally we have about 12,000 TV advertisers in a year. You normally have about 1,500 of them active any given month. That number has come down to about 1,000, 1,100. So about 35% drop in the number of advertisers. The kind of inventory that is being bought has also come down about anything from about 25 to about 40%, 50% is a kind of drop in inventory overall sold on TV. But interestingly, the kind of spends, and that is anecdotal numbers, on TV has come down 75 or 80%. So for the 1,000 odd advertisers who are there, they're actually getting a very good deal because obviously inventory being a perishable commodity, they're getting a lot of bonus value adds, and great values are being offered to them. So at this point in time, the advertisers who are coming back, 30% of them is actually social media advertising. So a lot of it is social messaging. There's another about 45% coming. Social messaging, by the way, is a high. It's not more than 5-6%. It's now become 30. FMCGs, which was originally around 50% of TV, is now about 43-44. So if you take out social messaging, it's much higher, and otherwise it's just about holding its own. And education is pretty significant, and other services is also there at about 14-15%. Now, I think the point out here is the ones which have really dropped off has really been e-commerce has come down significantly, auto has come down significantly, finance, which should have been actually the biggest period. March was a bigger period. April should have come down somewhat, but it has come down a little bit more than we thought, which is surprising. I thought finance would hold. But in general, we are seeing largely an FMCG and social media run media, which is happening at this point in time. So that is what the basic outlook. On digital, it's more difficult to track the full kind of advertising. But here again, also we are seeing a lot of FMCGs. We are seeing e-commerce also very active here. So overall, I would say that yes, spends are coming down, but activity in terms of advertiser presence is down 25-30%.
Okay, that's not a great position to be in, but still some brands are advertising. Vivek, what does it take at your end as the CMO during the lockdown? How do you look at the courage to invest in a time like this? What kind of gains are you looking for?
The natural tendency for marketeers is to conserve marketing and advertising spends when demand will pick up. And you're right in pointing out that the categories which are advertising on the basis of what I call fundamentals of marketing, which is demand potential. So in addition to social media and FMCG, which Vikram detailed out, I also noticed insurance segment is other category which is advertising. Now, if we take that is advertising on the basis of demand potential. People are not rushing out to buy insurance policies, but I believe it is a belief of the industry that people are becoming more security conscious, and this is the right time to get the messaging in. Or for example, consumers have more time at hand, and we are in art and craft category, and we are running a campaign in digital media and social media, encouraging art and craft amongst children with parents. So that's one campaign which is happening from our side. But fundamentally, I would say the brands which are advertising right now are advertising on the basis of either demand potential, which are essentials and personal hygiene, insurance, social, or there is an opportunity for some brands to actually build brand equity. We see a lot of digital campaigns and otherwise also some campaigns from brands like Durex or OTT brands which are happening. Now the opportunity for marketeers here is to reinforce and strengthen brand equity in time when the clutter is less. So there is an opportunity in the downside of less clutter, and this is a time you can easily grab a share of mind and build brand equity. The second aspect which we all ignore, if we expand advertising word to communication, I think I also see a lot of marketeers around me which are reaching out to the other stakeholders through means not necessarily advertising, which is through the dealers, to distributors, or in B2B marketing to contractors, and influencers. Now that communication is critical because this lockdown is the time, I believe, which is a redefining moment of relationship between brand and consumers, brand and dealers, brand and distributors. So yes, marketers will not advertise till they actually see demand happening, because that doesn't make economic sense or business sense. But there's an opportunity to build brand equity because this is a time when consumers have more time, more attention, clutter is less. And I think it's also a great opportunity for companies to demonstrate to the stakeholders that they care for them.
Ashish, you're on mute.
Vivek, when we go to stores now, because of supply chain issues, we often don't get the brands that we look for, and I'm guessing brand loyalty may be impacted by this lockdown. How does that impact your plans coming out of the lockdown?
See, you hit upon a very sharp insight, and this is something which we all have been observing. Because the supply chains have been affected, consumers have to buy essentials. When they go to the store, if they don't find the brand of the choice, they go on to next brand without hesitation because they want the product and they want to use it, whether it is personal care, whether it is a food, or whether it is snacking. So I believe at the end of this 2 to 3 months, consumers may end up realizing that there is not much of a difference between the brands, or they can do with brand A instead of brand B, so on and so forth. Now, yes, that's a risk which marketers are running if they're not reaching out to consumers of depleting brand loyalty. Uh, the brands have two choices: either to reach out to their consumers now through advertising or other digital means to reinforce this brand loyalty, or to come back as soon as the lockdown is up and over and the business resumes. But eroding brand loyalty is a reality of this changed social scenario.
And therefore you will need some marketing budgets to just rebuild that post the slowdown. I'm guessing that would be one of the key priorities for a marketer.
No, absolutely. Budgets will depend upon the P&Ls and the business considerations, but definitely long-term marketeers and long-term brands, they know that these are the times when they have to come back and invest more behind the brands, go more behind innovations, focus on some pack sizes more, focus on some geographies more, to not only regain the business but also regain the consumer, dealer, and trust of the distributors. So yes, we would see enhanced marketing investment as soon as conditions become close to normal. And I think sensible marketers would invest more than necessary in the beginning to get the momentum going, because business momentum has to start. And initially, Ashish, you would see advertising would be done more towards dealers and distributors because they have to regain confidence in the brand. And it's like priming a pump or priming an economy. So initial priming will be necessary not only from the government, but it will also be necessary from marketers and brands.
Yeah, I agree with that. Advertising will be required to prime the economy to get demand generation back up again. And it'll be one of the big factors of our revival, I think. And coming to that, Pratyusha, as in you're in this wonderful situation where TV viewership overall is growing, albeit led a lot by Doordarshan, but TV viewership is growing a lot. But advertising monies are coming down. How does marketing work? How does being a chief consumer officer at this time, what does it mean for you?
So I guess the good and very, very good news is that, and for any marketer, that consumers are thronging to your product or your brand is a very good news, right? And I think that's been a big focus. I think Vikram spoke about the growth that's happening. Maybe let's deconstruct that growth a bit, so that to then kind of say, what should media industry and media marketers be doing at this stage? So where is this 40% growth really coming from? Yeah, I think it's basically previously when you say who's the viewer is the question that you would ask, and the fundamental change that's happened is instead of a single viewer as a viewing unit, it's now with the males and kids being at home and being at home through the week and a day, it's now become family as a viewing unit. So that's becoming your basic unit of consumption. And what's happening because of that is from a erstwhile, prime time kind of consumption to a 7 days a week throughout the day consumption. So there's more people who are watching for more days and more time, and most interestingly, more channels. So if we were to deconstruct, there's like a 12% reach growth. One wouldn't have thought given the size of TV, you would get a 12% reach growth. And so that's at about a 630 million people who are now, half of them, unlike the 1/3 of them who used to watch all 7 days. Previously, it's about 1/3 who used to watch. Now, half of them are watching 7 days. And the time spent is now almost at the south levels, as I would call it. South markets have always been, the most evolved in terms of both penetration and consumption. Almost 90% to like the 4-hour, 28 minutes kind of consumption. Now, you're seeing that at Total TV and a lot of Hindi speaking markets, as we call it in TV, completely exploding. So your Punjabs and Rajasthans are at like larger than 60-50% growth. So it's a bit of the I think the devil is in the detail of looking at which markets the consumption is exploding in, and the changing consumer mix of that consumption, saying then how do we really tailor make this product. So and it's not just Ramayana, right? And you've seen that Ramayan's kind of taken the really the tent pole for GEC. But movie genre is, oh my God, the growth in that genre, 60% growth. It's now pretty much the largest genre, because that kind of it plays that role of the family entertainer, where the family can bond with entertainment rather than bicker about who's going to watch what. So I think that's
Are we seeing this? It's a very interesting thing, Pratyusha, that in times of trouble, we are moving more towards mythology and hardcore escapism in that sense, you know.
I don't know if I would call movie genre escapism. If I were to look at the content that's doing well on movies or overall, you know, this whole where it is not pushing the edge and kind of creating a conflict in the viewing unit. It's also because of the viewing unit. It's a thing that bonds people. So movies like
the family,
the holidays or nationalist, or like, you know, the patriotic, or the Simbas of the world, or of course the evergreen, the Hum Saath Saath Hain and the Hum Aapke Hai Kauns of the world, are continuing to do very, very well. So you won't believe Gadar rated so well. It's one of those things of, it makes us feel hopeful and makes us feel like we can overcome. I think those kind of movies are doing really, really well. Mythology is really the Ramayana effect. I'm not sure all of everybody tried. All of mythology is working. Ramayana is at a different league. So let's keep that to that trend. So in terms of revenues, I guess you're right. That's the... but I see it more as a temporary phenomena. It's not like... You know, I think what's more critical in any sector is that you have viewer and consumption. Monetization is something that you can always work on. You can catch up on it. So right now, we're really focusing on saying, how do I gain max share in this exploding consumption, which is what Zee's been managing to deliver with its portfolio.
Very interesting. Vikram, coming back to you, on one side you have TV, which is growing, but on the other side, you know, you have segments like events and out of home, which really have seen a plummet because no one's really out of the home. So question from the audience here, do you think outdoor advertising will bounce back after the lockdown, or is this a permanent shift?
No, it's definitely not permanent. Reality is advertising chases eyeballs, as and when there is a semblance of normalcy and people are going back into the roads and traveling, outdoor will come back. So outdoors, I think is going to be a short-term impact. I'm more worried about cinema because I think the enduring impact is going to be because people are still going to be a little paranoid of being in enclosed environments with air not being circulated. So they might not now go back into cinema halls in a hurry. But once the pandemic is more or less over, I think people will travel and outdoor will find its mojo.
Vivek, question for you also from the audience. Stationery stores are now shut. How are you reaching the end customer now? What is your Brahmastra during this period?
Stationery is not an essential item. And a lot of our adhesives and color brands are listed on e-commerce sites. So people can order, but I would suspect that in these times, people will make do with what they have. And we will see an explosion of latent pent-up demand as soon as things normalize. Because students, office people working from home are doing with the current stock of stationery, colors, pen, pencil, and adhesives. But I think it's going to soon come back. Although I must say that a lot of my friends are in touch with me saying, I'm getting a Fevikwik, so I repaired this, or I didn't get Fevikwik second tube. So you also mentioned, so we are getting those anecdotes, including yours. But yes, but you know, this question very intelligently brings me to other aspect, that direct to consumer. I think direct to consumer is a direction which is now getting open to us. And a lot of us in marketing are realizing that perhaps that's something to be worked upon and expanded and scaled up.
Are you spending more now on building more channels, newer D2C channels, and gathering end customer data directly as a brand?
See, we were already present, as I said, before this pandemic happened on e-commerce sites. And we had our
Right.
own plans of reaching out to consumers directly. And we do reach out to consumers directly through various social media as well as other means. But of course, see, what is happening is due to this unforeseen, once in a lifetime event, uh, three things are changing with consumers. One is attitudes, one is behavior, and third is consumption. Now, ABC. So, attitude, behavior, consumption. Now, as Vikram rightly said, some things are going to come back to where they were before. Some things will change partly and some things will change permanently. We do not know what will change. But definitely, one change which I see is one, consumers are getting more comfortable with digital. They will get more conscious of hygiene and keeping distance, and they will try avoid going out unnecessarily, so they will reach out to companies and brands directly. So herein lies an opportunity, and I think we will have to work towards these changed consumers behavior, whether it's in direct to consumer go to market channels, whether it is communication channels more digital, or modifying how we reach and changing the whole marketing media mix in such a way that we adapt to the changing lifestyle and media habits of consumers and people.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Another very interesting question has come in, Vikram. I think you should take this. Is how do you think print will perform post the lockdown? Do you think there will be any kind of permanent dip in the medium?
Okay, print is right now coming on the back of a pretty soft market right through 2019, even pre-COVID. So they were flat to marginal growth at best in 2019.
Yep.
So we are also seeing overall, while total readership defined as read in the past 1 month is about steady but slightly weak, the read yesterday, which is also called average issue readership, that has come down a little bit. So overall, there is a slight trend of print slightly coming down. I fear at this point in time, I believe from my newspaper friends, that circulation levels are at about 80% of what they were. That's what they say. But each of the sort of newspapers that is being put out is about half the size that it used to be, if not less. I see after this entire thing gets over, I think the newspaper distribution will get normalized. I don't see people going off subscription. They will go back to their old habits. So they'll keep subscribing. But I see the final readership, there will be a residual dip. So the average issue readership, which was already a bit down, it was from in 2017, it was around 17%. Now it's around 14.5%. That might go down maybe a 1 or 2% more. That's at an all India urban plus rural level. So that said, I still think the role of print is still very important. It goes without saying that the credibility, because right now a whole lot of other mediums are actually suffering from a huge credibility crisis. So, I mean, on a similar forum which I was doing with Nazia some time back, we were talking about the entire authenticity of news and importance of that. At least I believe that yes, the brand of news is the most important. So if there are some brands who are very, very careful about their authenticity, they will make sure that the same credibility, trust is seen through platforms. But if I have to go off brand, then print by definition is more credible, followed by maybe TV news channels, maybe then the online news portals, then the aggregators, and lastly the social media disseminators. So I think
Yeah.
that if anybody wants to be in a news environment, the role of newspapers is very much there. So I will not write off advertising on newspapers, but the case to sell newspapers will have to be made more cogently.
And I think today I saw that the Indian Express has taken a big step and gone subscription on digital. I think it's 999 for the year, if I remember correctly, which is a
Yes.
really great deal for the quality that you get at Indian Express. And I think more and more the subscription model will become important in the media industry. And on that, there's a question for you, Pratyusha. How do you see subscription models, as important to the overall broadcast industry? And there's another question also linked to that, which is when everyone is stuck at home, do you see conflict internally too between your OTT platform, which is the new content, and the TV channel repeating shows? So subscription and conflict. Very interesting question.
Okay, so let's talk about subscription first, and then we'll talk about the conflict, which I don't see ever existing. But yeah, so subscription, I think what is interesting and what we've seen is a uptick in all the dead or inactive subs. That kind of came back with a vengeance in March and continues to do so in April, because when people are sitting at home to do nothing, when they're whichever boxes were lying inactive got activated back, and with the number of people at home watching and specific preferences, etc., there will be specific channels for which demands increasing. So in that sense, subscription is a good story. The second thing which the World Economic Forum's report put out on COVID is the intention to pay for news or entertainment, and entertainment specifically. We know erstwhile it used to be around 44% paying kind of a thing, versus currently the intention to pay is as high as 70%. When I'd have nothing else but TV entertainment. TV has like literally become that trusted companion who's your entertainer, stress reliever, and your window to the world when I can't step out, right? So people are willing to pay. I think it's upon us as a sector and all the players across the value chain to unlock this value. And the biggest problem is the ground outreach, right? When the cable wala can't go across and collect, or the collections will be the supply chain equivalent for us is the front end value chain, where that we need to come together. And currently we are doing partnering with all our MSOs and DTHs and running an online payment and UPI app payment kind of a campaign, because that really helps. The cable guy has kept it live for you while everything else is stopped, and hence why would you stop his payment is the very strong message that we as a broadcaster are giving out to all the viewers, so that we can support our partners in kind of unlocking that value that's there. On the second, on conflict, this is one thing. I think it's like a favorite question of everybody to say OTT versus TV, and I like really quote this number once again for everybody's benefit. 630 million daily viewers of TV consuming for 4 hours, 40 minutes. OTTs or video consumption is like 60 million, including the awards and everything. And people who have disconnected, or what we call cord cutters, are less than 2 million. So there is a bubble in which we live where we think this is substitutable, and all they're both growing. There are segments, like, this is the first thing that I was taught in marketing. There are segments in a market with different sizes and different needs. We will fulfill all segments that are there in the entertainment market, whether through the TV as a medium or through OTT ZEE5. And we are continuing to grow both segments by designing content offerings that kind of really work. We've also tried this experiment during this time on trying to see if some of the OTT content will take off on TV. Interestingly, and that's what Sunil actually shared yesterday, that content did reasonably in the NCCS A+++ metros kind of segment, but did not grow in the rest of what I call the mini Bharats of this country. So I think each have a role to play, and the subscriptions of OTT are increasing, and that's great. Similarly, TV is exploding in its own segments. I think it's about designing the right content for both.
Which also goes to prove an hypothesis I've always had, that OTT content is really very, very metro and upper SEC centric. It's always been built for that audience, and it's not something that will translate easily down the pyramid. One last question for you, Vivek, before we move on to the revival. which is your point of view in terms of brand building when customers are today more focused about COVID hygiene rather than personal hygiene. Is it true that people are spending more time on media? Yes, but how is it helping consumers because they don't have choice in the market? Interesting point of view.
See, these are very extraordinary times where people are rightly focused upon personal hygiene and safety issues. So definitely their mind attention is focused towards that. But this is not going to last forever. It's going to end. And yes, there'll be some residual heightened level of awareness of these issues which brands have to keep in mind. But I think the normal consumers and their consumption will come back. So I mean, and I didn't really understand exactly the question, but I believe the question is, would these considerations stay? Will it permanently change my messaging or not?
Yeah,
My answer is no. Life will change, but life will not remain at in this time frame mode forever. Life will not come back to normal either. So life will be somewhere in between. It will be changed reality, and brands will have to take cognizance of that. But previously what Pratyusha was saying, I have to really add to what she was saying and support that. What classically she's rightly saying is that, see, different mediums may emerge, TV, OTT, tomorrow some other medium may emerge, but they each fill a different time occasion in consumer life. One doesn't necessarily eat into another. So when I was in chocolate industry, just because I launched a dairy milk, then a fruit and nut, then a bubbly, then a silk, doesn't mean that one will eat into the sale of another. Overall, the market grows because people consume different things at different time. The same lower SEC consumer may be consuming a match in a local train or a cereal in a local train while reaching home. But once they reach home, they switch off the phone, small screen, go back to large screen. On the night, they will go to balcony and there was something else. So I think we have to keep in mind, and this is how economies grow. So time occasion is the axis from which we must look at everything. And the additional time occasion access which this pandemic is going to reduce for all of us is safety, privacy, and caution. So there will be some residual change.
And Vikram, you see the messaging changing in the market now from an advertiser point of view?
Yes. I have mantra which I say, at least during the COVID and just after the COVID period, given the consumer sentiments, I think marketers need to look at the 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, U. So A is authenticity and availability. Authenticity is give them messages that they can use, which is actually practical stuff and authentic stuff, and typically where the brand is walking the talk, not just claims. Availability is also the point that Vivek was talking about earlier. Availability means at this point in time, these things are in a flux. Consumers are going to go and buy stuff that is available, that is visible, and that is offering great value. Strong brands that are doing all 3 will come back stronger. Weak brands that start doing this in the absence of strong brands doing it will eat into the strong brand share. So it is a moment of amazing flux where availability defined as basic presence, absolute availability, and good value pricing is going to be key to market share movements. The E stands for the entire be seen as essential, because today everybody is right now deferring their entire should we say disposable or whatever is seen to be a luxury is actually being deferred. So if whichever category you are in, focus on the stuff the strong points. Why is it essential to have you, and dial that piece up? And I think everybody has a role to play. Choose your occasions, choose where it's useful, and that's the essential part. I is the entire part about, I think unfortunately, we're getting a little bit more insular. It's insular, Indian, intimacy, whatever you want to call it. Intimacy is probably the most positive of those words. But unfortunately, barriers are increasing. Now people are India versus China, India versus US. Yeah, India-centric is becoming more. You'll find even within states, like I'm right now sitting in Delhi, I can't go into a Haryana, Gurgaon or Faridabad, or for that matter, Noida, UP, sit from where I am right now, for whatever reasons, very real reasons. But at this point in time, people are going to go back to what is comfortable to them. So that is the entire I intimacy piece. O is online. You have to go online. More and more consumers are coming in and becoming online transactors. So you have to tap into that. And the U part is managing uncertainty. So whenever you're doing your marketing plan, have an immediate, during COVID, post-COVID, and steady state kind of marketing plan. AEIOU.
What was you, Vikram?
I'm sorry?
What was you? It is wonderful. What was you? I missed you.
U is managing uncertainty.
Uncertainty. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
This is really
fantastic.
great.
That's Vikram for you. Always awesome. But anyway, I'm now going into the revival consideration piece, and really, Vivek, this is a question for you. How will you recalibrate your spends? What's going to drive that recalibration? When are you going to get back with a bang on media and advertising again?
See, it's very difficult and risky to predict when the revival will happen. But I can say there are multiple considerations which we have in mind and we must consider before we decide how will it happen and what shape it will take. So first of all, it all depends upon when and how government lifts the various restrictions. Then, of course, the $1 million question is, will the recovery in India going to be a V-shaped or a U-shaped? And how soon marketeers come in the game with their investments, etc., depends a lot on that. The second critical factor which will determine how the business will come back, and including media, is actually media depends a lot on the demand and the how marketeers behave. And that for us will depend upon something hidden called supply chain. Will factories resume production full capacity? Will transportation will happen normally across the country? Will my goods reach the markets and shop shelves in full strength and full quantity as I need? So that's the second factor in consideration. The third one is, interestingly, where will the demand happen? Lockdowns will lift in various phases across various states and towns. So some places demand will pick up earlier, some places it will be not pick up earlier. But a general hypothesis I can risk postulating here before you is that possibly, given the current trends, the COVID will not reach small towns and villages as much as it is intensifying in the big metros. So we would see earlier revival of demand in small towns and rural India for the two reasons that the impact of the pandemic will be less there. And secondly, the government monies which will reach through the Jan Dhan accounts actually will reach, and various other incentives which they will unleash for the underprivileged people. So that is the third consideration. And last but not the least, I think a lot of revival consideration depend upon liquidity in the system. It is now perhaps not linked to this forum and media, but SMEs, MSMEs, how much money is in the system, how is real estate going to pan out? Because ultimately it is the fundamental demand in the core sectors which will determine the secondary demand in the other sectors. So these are the 4 or 5 considerations which we'll have. And I think later we can talk about how we can go about it. But I'll pause here for the time being.
Okay, and that leads me to you again, Vikram. In terms of revival, do you see a difference in the ad mix post lockdown in terms of traditional versus digital media? Do you think this COVID thing will change anything permanently?
Okay, yes. So 2 things. One, I'll just back up for a sec. I think the revival should start firstly the minute lockdown is relaxed a little bit. Of course, the most authoritative voices on this need to be from Vivek and Pratyusha. They are the ones who like to actually take the calls on when to spend. But whenever when we are speaking to them, and of course, Vivek just talked about the various markers that he's looking at, which will actually sort of be a sort of indicator of demand to start going up. I think that said, the marketing outcomes that marketers will now look to do is 2 things. There's a need to dial up or capitalize the brand trust piece where there's a huge deficit. At the same time, there is a very, very here and now need of the bottom of the funnel closing the transaction. I see the role of at this point in time, it would be tempting to go 100% into performance and zero branding. But I think that would be a mistake. I think you have to do branding to the extent of build trust, which will be best done on TV. And then I think there has to be a fair amount of middle of the funnel, very, very focused targeting using digital cohort targeting, DMPs, all that. And bottom of the funnel, very really performance based, all the search, affiliates, social, all that kind of stuff that you do to actually get the sales. I say in overall, it will definitely move in favor of digital, but TV will also be there.
If I can add to Vikram, Ashish. So two things. I completely agree with Vikram that when the lockdown is lifted, first of all, there'll be an initial spike in the pent-up demand, latent demand. So one has to cater to that. That's for, number one marker. Second is I completely agree with him. The brands have an opportunity here to quickly come back and tell the consumers, look, I have been there when you were in lockdown and you were not getting me, and I'm back and I'm here for you. So I think this initial communication of brand with consumers is a must to really underline a statement of confidence from the brand to the consumer. So I agree with Vikram. Initial one, and communication and advertising is important. And as I said earlier, initial advertising is also important from brands to talk to the intermediaries like dealers and distributors. They are a very important link in India because a trade and a distribution is fragmented over millions of outlets and mom and pop stores. So I think for these two reasons, there will be initial spurt in advertising as soon as the lockdown is lifted. But after that, some normalcy will return, and then the fundamental markers of demand and supply will come into play across various segments, and they'll each play out differently.
If I may chip in, just keeping in on this one. Look at Vivek touched upon it a little while back on what's really happening is because I want to consume that product, or I need that category. So whatever is on the shelf right now is getting sampled. So what's really getting worst hit is your brand preference. Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's not that there is no demand. Yeah, there is some categories where the demand itself is under lockdown, but there is a bigger threat on the brand preference because I've sampled a couple of things. So when I come back to this thing on counter to the performance is when you want to push them last month saying abhi kharido, abhi karo. But people are going to be in the revenge spending mode or in that pent up demand saying I want to buy. So what's the most critical parameter at that time is consideration and preference for your brand. And that I think being built, and I don't know if you need to wait till the lockdown thing lifted, but overall a preference focus would really help. And having seen a couple of categories in my career, the last mile is worthwhile when your brand loyalty is very taken for granted and you're just trying to convert the sale. But our problem right now is not converting the sale. The problem right now is saying, prefer my brand, prefer this product because of. And that because of, so the second big thing that's happening is the attitude and mindset of people, right? We are looking, I think it'll be a big mistake to look at your consumer as the consumer of that particular product. If you look at them as people and what they've gone through or we are all going through right now, there's a fundamental shift that's happening on our attitudes and mindsets and the way we're looking at the world. So there's this study which talked about normal advertising versus compassionate advertising. And I'm likely to say, take my money when I feel like you care and you are with me, and why I should prefer you as a brand and a product rather than saying, come buy me because I'm going to give you 2x more milk protein or whatever. So I think that's where I see TV playing a big role.
And the other point, I just want to go a little deeper in where I find it fascinating is, Vivek, you said that you think the demand will pick up faster in tier 2 and 3 markets vis-a-vis metros because there's just less impact of COVID in those markets. Really all about supply chain coming into being. And does that mean that there is a greater chance for regional television channels, radio and print to, get out of the V curve quickly? Vivek, Pratyusha, Vikram, open question really. Do you see the regional media pulling out faster?
Yes. So first of all, I said it's a hypothesis. What I'm saying may come true, may not come true. Possible that demand will be more in small towns and rural India, but it's a reality. This is definitely going to happen, that the demand will be staggered across the country, across various pockets and geographies at different times. That depends upon the red, green, and orange zones and how they are lifted at various points in time, which means that both marketeers and media people have to respond to that in a calibrated fashion. What it means is that for marketers will have to orient their supply chains and their distributions and the demand generation activity to that geography as and when it opens. And then we will be looking for media options which can take me to my consumers in that geography. If TV isolation is possible, it's TV. If it's only print, it's print. If it is TV print combined, of course, and we'll have to look at efficiency, because uh, whatever you may say about the merits of brand equity building, etc., the the constraints of resources and P&L will be playing, and monies will not always be floating around. So we'll have less monies. So efficiency will come a lot into play, but we will be increasingly looking towards media owners and media vehicle to give us regional specific options. That will be very, very critical. We'll be looking for advice from digital people as to how can we target them at various in various geographies at different stages of the decision making, different cohorts. That
That, that,
that that will really come into play very, very strongly in the next 6 months.
When
Vikram,
what I'm seeing on regional channels, sorry, just other, because the viewer consumption has also increased in the languages, and one of the, like I spoke about Punjab or Rajasthan growing and all of that. Somewhere when we think of TV, and elsewhere even before I had come into TV as a category, we seem to think of it as that national medium with HSM, GEC channels and Hindi movie channels. But actually, the joy of this category really is in the regional channels and regional markets. And I think what's happened to them in the last 5 years, and much of Zee's rise to dominant leadership, is because of this each region's performance and consumers preferring their own cultural content over some sort of national Hindi content. And I think to that extent, I also see in supporting what Vivek has said on if there is demand, which will, and because the lockdown will come out phased, or there might be like setbacks in some regions versus the other, it'll be critical to reach out state-wise, or the focused outreach will be super critical. And that way, I see regional channels or regional media doing a lot better.
Yeah,
It will be a challenge.
I think we, as a panel, we're all unanimous in this. I also think that for exactly the reasons that even both Vivek and Pratyusha said, I see marketers now trying to carve out plans at a local market level a little bit more, because that's how the recovery is going to come in. We also have seen, for reasons of cultural preference, nuance, insularity, whatever you want to call it, the entire regional flavors are always seeming to get more traction. Today, national brand will maybe have 65% on HSM channels and 35% of their spend coming on the regional state channels. About maybe 5 years back, that was probably 75-25. So the way Bengali, Maharashtra, Marathi, and now increasingly the entire Bhojpuri stuff which is coming in, and to some extent Punjabi, I can see, and of course now each one of them is coming out with the regional news channels, and they are having their own traction. I can see a good play happening out there.
yeah, I tend to agree. And therefore, your advice, Vikram, for marketeers getting back into the ring now, firstly, impact or reach? What would you put your money behind?
Well, it depends entirely what their marketing objective is, but at this point in time, I would go for reach per se over impact. If I had to just give a blanket statement, I think it's important to have good, credible messages. And if you have an important message, then people are hungry for messages. They'll actually take it out. if you're reaching that message to them, people will seek it. Impact does a very good job of breaking clutter. At this time, people are receptive, so you don't need to use impact just for breaking clutter. Now, I use impact typically to, if, for example, if I'm doing a launch and if I want to get my new message seen by most by people fast, so the reach build up needs to be much faster than impact. Like IPL works brilliantly at building reach. In a week, most people can see it. So those things, at least during COVID, one advantage that we are seeing right now is because 12% more reach, there is about 25% more average time spent. So as a result, fewer GRPs are being able to give you the kind of reach faster, and that is likely to continue shortly after COVID as well.
Right.
That apart, of course, budgets are going to come down by at least anything from 20, 30 to 50% maybe for many brands. So at that point in time, it's going to be a straight trade-off. Should I just get my message seen more by more people, or should I blow it all up in one impact? So I think for these kind of reasons, reach is going to trump impact. That said, I'm sure there's going to be a huge hunger for like live cricket. So the minute the T20 World Cup does happen, if by some chance a curtailed IPL does happen late in the year, the kind of ratings it's going to get is unprecedented. But it'll require deep pockets and big marketers to participate.
Two very interesting questions have come up side by side on my screen. One says, radio listenership has seen a huge surge during COVID. This person mentions 82% rise in consumption on radio. Do you think with this data in place, radio will see a resurrection in the market and in the media mix? Vikram or Vivek?
Actually, I'd love to see the data because I haven't seen a data which has shown 82% growth in radio listenership. So, so I'd love to see that data. The sense check that we are getting is that, look, there are two things in radio. There is there's a myth, and that radio is predominantly on the move medium. The reality in India is that most of radio is still heard at home. But having said that, there is a significant amount which is drive time, and that, of course, has now come down crashing. But even the one at home, and that's a strange one for me, because at least the research that I've looked at shows that radio listenership, unlike TV and online, has not grown. So I'd love to see this 82% growth data. Now, what my hypothesis right now is that typically a housewife is alone at home when the kids and the husband has gone to work. And when she's doing the household chores, the radio is a companion medium which is playing in the background. Now she's got that entire family there, so probably the need for a companion goes. But that is my whatever psychology 101 hypothesis. I'd love to see the
my
data.
hypothesis on radio.
I'd love to see the data. Please send me the data.
Okay, is that radio is a great medium because it's free, and it always will stay free, and it doesn't use data charges as well. So the demand for radio per se is always going to be there. But Vikram, how do you see radio going forward, especially post the lockdown coming out? It is always been a call for action reminder medium. Do you see it playing that role as well?
Radio was going even pre-COVID brilliantly till end of 18. 19 it started getting a bit subdued. And what I'm seeing in radio is that it's because of finally at the end of the day, every medium has to have a basic reason to be. Now, like TV is all about emotion, maybe news is about breaking news, impact, credibility, whatever. So now at this point in time, radio, when the going is good and the economy is on a big stream in a multimedia plan, a radio will find a very good role to play. The problem that one is facing is that the whole of 19, especially the second half of 2019, was a very soft economic period. So at that point in time, the minute you got to make calls and say, what should I cut? Unfortunately, radio is getting out of the plan. I would love to see radio make a resurgence because it was really, really doing well all the way till 18, 19. But 19 has been soft, and I hope it can come back. But I think it's in a state of inertia. So you'll need some huge external force to push it. On its own, it won't happen.
Okay, I'm Pratyusha. There's a question from the audience which I think is bang for you, which is in India, predominantly we have seen Saas Bahu stories in our fiction shows. Do you think our audience will now look for shows which motivate or share more positive vibes?
So I'd like to ask, when was the last time you saw TV? To the person asking, Saas Bahu. Saas Bahu ended in 2010, people. The last 6 years have been about husband, wife, and that relationship. People, Sasas and Bahus realize that they're on the same side back in 2010. So that conflict kinda ended back then. So TV serials had moved on to the man-woman relationship, which actually, I mean, again, I think going back to large cultural or socio-cultural trends, the man-woman relationship was or is the one still undergoing a lot of tussle, and hence a lot of the serials that are the top serials, if you take Kumkum Bhagya, Kundli Bhagya, all of these which are top serials on TV are about the man-woman relationship dynamic. During this period, however, the biggest spike that we are seeing, and we've seen that on ANT-TV2, is for those family entertainers, obviously, is we have something called Happu, which is about a whole large family, which has a lot of different funny characters. So a bit of light-hearted comedy, and you're right, as we're coming out of this, I think there'll be a lot more need for light-hearted dramedy rather than family dramas, which have been the traditional forte of the high-octane drama, versus a lot more family dramedy equivalent is possibly what we see working, and that's something which would be great. The second big reason why people watch TV is and these are talent shows, and where you see the underdog becoming a great hero. So that's, again, to say TV is about Saas Bahu is like ignoring half of TV consumption, which is all about the platforms for talent and the platform which says that you can make anything possible, and those are continuing to do well. Yeah, so that's about some of the content that we're looking at, and I think a lot of new format innovations is something which will happen, given that production is never, it will be a whole new world for production. It will no longer be not like a factory where I can open back and I can create some distance and continue to produce the product at scale. I think we are rethinking some of the drama formats itself and how do we produce and stuff. So you will definitely see new innovations on TV content.
Okay, Pratyusha, there's another question for you, which is, again, how about the opportunity for new GC channels? We've seen Shemaru has also launched a GC today. What is the future, FTA or subscription?
Okay, so I'm going to take the first one first, and then the FTA bit is a very different conversation. I think, should we be launching new channels at this stage? Obviously, there's a surge in consumption, and hence to capture that demand, I think one of the big contributors of Zee's market share in this COVID period has also been the 4 new channels we launched last quarter. So it just is so opportune, and at the time when Zee Punjabi got launched and Punjabi category got exploded, it managed to capture that. Or all the 3 movie channels that we launched, whether it's Zee Bioscope in Bhojpuri or Picture and Tira in Kannada and Tamil respectively, they managed to capture the extreme shift that happened to movie genre. So I think it's definitely a good idea to have a new product to capture demand. But I think really the challenge is the P&L one. If there is no advertiser money, then how do you kind of sustain running a channel? And their subscription does come to the rescue. But I think it'll have to be a very, very well thought through P&L model for us to be able to launch. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. On the FTA versus subscription one, I think, listen, there will be free-to-air requirement, given that economy will take a big downturn, and there is going to be a lot of, at least at the complete bottom of the pyramid, it would be good to have some free channels. So there will be opportunity. Who rises up to take that opportunity will really be the thing to see.
Yeah, I think there's an explosion, and from I think 80 channels last year, Free Dish has already crossed 104, if I remember last. So clearly there is a lot of interest there. Another question from the audience. I think this one's for you, Vivek. What, according to you, is the immediate foreseeable future for experiential marketing? Are you going to get back to that, or is that going to be a low on your priority going forward?
I think I will concur with Vikram to say, as Vikram said, marketers and everyone follows consumers and the eyeballs. So I think in the foreseeable future, experiential marketing of various kinds will exist. Some will not be very positive. Some will be very positive. So experiential marketing digitally, I think, will take more predominance because people will be very cautious about social distancing and health and safety considerations. And offline physical experiential marketing will really reduce and will take a backseat for some time. It's critical for brands to actually have experiential marketing. So we'll have to look for avenues in experiential marketing which are non-physical in nature and which are interactive and engaging in nature more than the physical ones. I think that is the way to go at things, and that is how the things will shape up in experiential marketing.
Okay. One more question for you. Quick one, Vivek. We're almost out of time.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Just to sort of bring to life what Vivek just said, currently what's happening is there are a bunch of these virtual concerts that are happening, which are getting way more participation live than a live concert ever would. So for a brand to come in and actually, in any which way that you were actually trying to sort of associate with the youth values of a good concert, you can actually do that with that same experience. Only thing, it is now happening in a virtual environment. So absolutely right. Experiential will stay, but it will be in a different format.
Okay, and I think we have time for one last question, and this is a very interesting one. What is your point of view in terms of brand building for a surrogate brand, which is in the liquor industry, which is silent in Q1? What should be their plan for Q2 in terms of campaign and communication? and talk about pent-up demand, Vivek, that you were talking about.
Yes.
Ashish, that's an easy one. If you're a liquor brand, just be available. If you're available, it will go off the shelf. Right now, there's a very deeply felt need for it.
And I think with that we've come to. I'm sorry, everyone else on the call. I still have another 26 questions, but we have run out of time. I just want to thank all of you guys for attending and all the panelists. I think you've been great. One last sentence, literally one sentence from each of you, starting with you, Pratyusha. What's your advice for the next 3 months to all of us as marketers, as media people, as brand people?
Okay, we've always heard this word VUCA world, and it's always been used in a negative context and saying, and I think now is possibly the Parakashta of the VUCA world, where everything is gone. So I would actually twist VUCA and say, for everybody, and not just marketers, business leaders, everybody. If I look at VUCA, I think there's a way of re-looking at it. And I see as value creation for whoever, your partners, your stakeholders, be obsessively focused on that value creation, because the erstwhile just product sales, or especially in TV category we talk about just audience selling, is not will not be enough in the new world where clients are trying to navigate a new world, and hence value creation will be super critical.
Value creation.
Yeah, you will be for understanding and empathy. Understanding your viewers and understanding your people actually is never been more critical. You might not be able to do it in the traditional sense of acha chalo FGD karte hain. Something which we've been doing the last 4 weeks is we're just calling up our viewers and checking in on how they're feeling. And we are in the emotion business, right? We're in the business of storytelling. So to really understand and have empathy for the person who's consuming it rather than your product user would be really, really critical. And even people, right? Empathy towards people when they come back and they are the guys delivering the business for you, and just being business focused as usual is not going to cut it. The third C is really creativity and reimagining everything, and that's something which we're realizing, whether the marketing campaigns that we put out during this time, which we thought were impossible in a different era, or the way show production or anything is happening currently, or even when we're entering the new world. You have to. It's not about let's redo it with a new material. You have to reimagine how to produce, how to cater to the consumer demand. And finally, A for me is for agility. I think people who pat on the move and are able to not intellectualize too much, but get a product out, get a service out, make changes quicker, are who's going to win. So value, understanding, creativity, and agility for me are the 4 things to fight the VUCA world.
Lovely. Vivek, one sentence from you.
Quick one. I think marketers will go after categories where demand will revive faster. They'll go after geographies, specific geographies. And I think keeping this and the changed consumer habits and changed media habits in mind, marketers will look towards media owners for partnership in customizing solutions to reach these consumers. And that is need of the hour.
Vikram.
Brands should focus on making themselves available. Brands should focus on making themselves heard with an authentic message. And brands basically should be, what was the third one? It was, you were talking about, I just blanked out. Availability has to be there. You've got to make yourself heard. And yes, make sure that you're giving value to them. So pricing, any kind of thing which offers value.
Yeah, and I
availability,
think
visibility, value.
Availability, visibility, value, and of course compassion. I think very, very important words for the next 3 to 6 months for all of us.
Focus, Ashish. Focus has to be for a new friend, because we will be doing fewer things in these tough times. Really focusing on fewer things. So for marketers as well as media people, focus has to be the new friend.
It's very true and very well put. Yeah, thank you very much, my panelists, for taking this time and doing this session. And thank you everyone on Facebook and on Zoom and on all the other channels for watching in. I apologize again, and since I said we couldn't do the last 26 questions, it has now become 32. So my apologies, can't answer all these questions, but great questions. Thank you very much. Stay safe and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.